the woman Lina is my nana's best friend.
I was laughing because you're like, it's a niputine.
Yeah.
You have to
La
always give like,
nipotina, na, 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 na.
you're like, it's a 4 intro thing before the, oh, okay, now I know who you are.
Ah, okay.
Okay, now I know. It's like they do the whole, the check, the person check.
Checklist.
Okay, we have a kumbare, we have a niputine, we have a cugini, and we have a zio somewhere in there. You know, it's like, it's so mental.
Yeah.
Claudia, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we've been texting each other, going back and forth and trying to make this happen. And I'm really glad that it happened. I had seen some of the stuff that you were doing. It was like, it caught my attention. And I was like, okay. And then you seemed interesting at the same time too, because it's not just like, you seemed like there was an interesting character behind all the stuff that you're doing. It's Cosmic Healing House, right?
Yeah.
So I found it like, okay, what's the story behind this girl? So I'm happy you're here. And I feel like it's going to be an interesting one. So that's it. I just want to say thank you for being here. And I'm happy that we're going to go through this conversation.
Me too. I'm excited.
Cool. So I wanted to start off with something because I found it really funny. You called this woman Lydia.
Who, Lydia?
Lydia, or maybe I got the name wrong. I can't remember. To help you learn how to like remove the malokyo or something.
No, Lina.
Lina, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
I was laughing so much at that video, but not in a laughing like at. I was like laughing at the whole idea of it.
You understood it.
I understood it. You know, it's like the whole phone call, the Christmas Eve thing. Like I've heard this so many times. And the reason why I laughed a lot is like I joke around with Chris. I'm like, dude, I think I gotta get someone to help take a malokyo off you or something, because he has he's so funny, but there's like these moments of like, how the hell is this happening all the time to Chris? So when I saw that video, I started laughing. I was like, okay, this was like a sign. We needed to meet just on that video. And I saw it like recently, like this week. So I was just laughing, thinking about it.
Yeah.
But how was that whole process? Like,
okay. So first, you're only allowed to learn on Christmas Eve. To be honest, I'm not sure why exactly, but that's the tradition. So I'm going to respect it. And basically, every part of Italy, or even like throughout the Mediterranean, I know this tradition is passed down even in Greece, some parts of Lebanon.
Turkey too.
So they all have their own way of doing it. The way that I was taught was just with water, oil, and then that was my technique. And then I went to Italy and I was like showing my cousins how to like, not how to do it, but I was like removing it for them. And then they were like, oh, the lady that does it for me usually, she does it with scissors. And then they were showing me. So then I kind of took a bit of everything that like I've learned and like made my own way of doing it.
Yeah.
So
But how did you get into all of this in the first place? It's like very
my
traditional
God.
stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like super into it. But you have like this element of like new wave at the same time. So it's like you're marrying the two worlds.
Yeah, that's literally what I feel my purpose is. Because like it started when I was a kid and I was just always very sensitive to things. So it first happened when I would start seeing like spirits, okay? And
okay, you have to dive into that.
So basically, I see dead people. No, but actually, that's literally how I got into this world. Was I was super young and I would always see, like figures by my door, or like more specifically, like my room was here and my brother's room was across the hall.
Was he just fucking with you this whole time? Like,
no,
just...
no, he was the younger one. I would be the one fucking with him. But no, like it just like I would see things and then my parents would be like, what the fuck? Like they'd be like, what is this? You know? And I grew up in a very traditional Italian household. And it's not that they didn't believe me, because they definitely like, I don't know, they're into it, but they're not like super invested in it, you know? So they didn't really know how to deal with it. And then it wasn't until I was like 15 years old, we went to a family friend's birthday party, and like for some reason, you know how like at parties they have a clown? Well, they had a psychic. So like
what was it? A 15-year-old birthday party?
No, it was it was a 50-year-old
birthday party. I heard 15. I'm like, what an epic way to do a 15-year-old. I'm just gonna invite a psychic. That's wild. That would be like, I gotta go to this party.
Yeah. But anyway, so I went and my mom was like, oh, you should go talk to her and maybe she can help you out. So I went to go see this woman and she kind of like made me feel like I was normal, because for a really long time I didn't feel like that was normal. Like there was even a point where I went to go see like a psychologist just to make sure that I was okay and I wasn't just seeing things. And I didn't like the way they were assessing me or analyzing the situation. And I felt like there was so much more depth into what I was seeing. Like, why am I seeing this? And then, so that happened. So she kind of introduced me to a world where it's like, okay, this kind of stuff is possible. Like, the reason you're seeing these things is like, because they're there and it's not just in your head. So I'm like, cool.
Confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you. And then fast forward in time, my older brother was working at a gym, and there was like a massage therapist who would like come every once in a while to massage the clients. And because he was working there, like he got a free trial, and this woman basically did Reiki on him. And he was like, whoa, you literally didn't touch me, but I felt stuff. And then right away when he came home, he like told me everything. He's like, it's this thing called Reiki. You have to meet this woman. She heals people with your hands, na na na. And I'm like, okay.
You got me.
Yeah, you got me, you know? So I remember I was in high school at the time. So I take the little city bus to the gym, and I'm in my school uniform and everything. And I finally meet this woman, and she's telling me everything. And like finally things are making even more sense. On top of that, she's born the same day as me. So I was just like, oh. And yeah, and my birthday in the spiritual community is like a big thing because it's 11/11, November 11. So they say that's like when a portal opens. So it did feel a bit special. I'm not going to lie.
But it's interesting because you said something like when you look back now and you kind of realize that whole journey, maybe how it started, was that there was these doubts and all these people kind of telling you, you know, how were you feeling? Like, how old were you when this started? You said.
So when I was like seeing things, it was 6 years old, 5 years old.
Okay.
And predicting things too. And my parents would be like, what? How do you know this? You know?
And so this was from 5, 6 years old, you started having those moments.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to convince people, and it's so hard to communicate just as a kid, you know, in general. And then you're trying to communicate something that is already tough to, I guess, understand or believe or want to believe in. And then you're doing this as a kid, and then you have to kind of like keep that. Were you keeping it like a secret for a while? Because you felt awkward about this, or?
Not, you know what? I have a very loud character and personality. So keeping this a secret, like I'm very expressive, even through my clothing, like I probably looked like a goth kid or like a little hippie child, you know, because I was just very, no, I didn't try to hide it. Like I wasn't scared of it. Because I believed in it and I felt it was real. So for me, it was like, how can you hide something that is so real and that could actually help people?
And so what did you do like at that point when now you really felt that this is real? Like you're a kid and you're feeling something pretty like big. And then you said that you went to go and see people, and they're kind of like putting those doubts again in their assessments. What made you continue going there? Like knowing that all this pushback was happening about this.
It felt like it was something I had to do. Like I even remember when I was younger, I would pray and I'd be like, God, please give me the power to just like touch people, and then they're happy or like they're good, you know? So I knew from a young age this was my mission, and I didn't care how I would do it. I just knew I wanted to do it. So all these things just started happening, and then people will say things to me like, oh my God, like just being next to you, I feel better, or just talking to you, I feel better. And I'm like, I don't know, there's a lot of, how do you say, like gratification from hearing that. You're like, okay, good. I feel like I'm doing something good.
It's funny you say that. I had somebody once that told me like, okay, you should go see this woman. And I'm blanking on her name. I think her name was Samira or something like that. And the moment I walked in, she just looks at me and she's like, I felt your presence. Like just walk into this room and like these good vibes and everything. I'm like, oh, it feels good, whatever. And then I remember she was telling me all this stuff, and she was like, I'm even going to record it for you. Like you could record it, come back, because sometimes these things that I'm telling you, they're not going to seem relevant now, but it's coming, you know, and it's we, you know, and she'll give me like images of stuff that was coming into her mind and all that stuff. And then I remember she's like, oh my God, I feel your head. And she was like, she put her hand on my head and she's like, oh my God, there's like all this energy coming from your brain. And it was like such a weird feeling, but such like a satisfying one too at the same time, that it changed this whole perception. And she doesn't do this with everyone, like other people that I've spoken to. And she was like, and then she told her friend, she's like, oh, I met Stefano, there was an energy. And there was something that, you know, like even when I saw just through the Instagram, I was like, okay, there's something about this girl, Claudia. Like, it's not just the massage. Like, there was something, like, even through, like, a friggin' app.
Yeah.
I was like, there was something that kind of radiated through the site. And now you meet this person, they're telling you these things, they're making you feel this way. What were your first steps after that? Like, how do you say, okay, like, I want to go help people? Like, how did you start that whole process now?
So then it was when my brother, sorry, it was when my brother had met that woman. And then I was like, okay, so there's like a name to this, to healing people with your hands without touching them. So I met this woman. I later on in time met with a Reiki Master who taught me how to do Reiki. And this was my first like step into this realm of helping others. And then I realized that people weren't really into like the whole energy work thing. They didn't really understand it. It was still becoming very new. Like today, the vibes are completely different.
Yeah.
Like there's a crystal shop almost everywhere.
You're crazy.
Oh my God. Back then, I grew up in the West Island. I would have to go off the island to like Il Perrot just to get crystals. Like it was crazy.
But how do you get, like, what's this, like, the process of that? Like, it's a crystal. I don't understand what
Oh
this
my God.
like.
It's so deep.
I just
No, it's-
opened up a whole portal here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
explain the whole concept of a crystal. Like, honestly.
okay. So like for me personally, like a crystal is something that contains a lot of energy just
Okay.
naturally and is charged with energy. And then based on what the crystal is, it can emit a certain frequency that can help you with certain things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, when you meet somebody, are you talking to them about, like, how do you, like, even start the process when someone walks into you? Let's say,
For like a thing.
because you have
a
so many
session?
things, right?
Yeah.
You have the Reiki, right?
Yeah.
Reiki, the massage, then there's the healing part. There's all these, even like sessions together with people, that there's a ton of stuff that you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's like, it seems like this whole journey and like experience in all these different ways with people. How did you like say, okay, like, I'm gonna start with this, and then when you're doing it, like, were you nervous at the beginning starting this? Like, are people gonna like not believe me? Are they gonna like what was going through your mind when you first kicked this off, really?
Okay, so like I was saying, no one was buying the whole Reiki thing. So I was like, okay, how am I going to get people to come to me and like just to get on this table? So then I'm like, okay, let me study massage therapy because you're learning about the body, you're making people feel good. It's more on a physical level. So then I just started with the massage therapy. And then as I would start working, I'd be like, you want to try this thing called Reiki?
Yeah, I got a little Reiki for you.
Yeah.
You open up your jacket.
Yeah.
You can't see it.
No. Just like a little, like the last 10 minutes or like I would add extra time just so I could share with people what it is. And I think like my biggest challenge was first my family, because they really didn't understand what it was. And I remember the first time I did Reiki on my dad, he was like, whoa. Like,
Oh, yeah.
he
He was a
felt
believer
it.
after
Yeah,
that?
well, my dad is a very open-minded person, period. Like, when he first came to Canada, he worked as a mechanic and he worked with this, like, Vietnamese guy. And he would always see this guy meditating and he'd be
Okay.
like, what are you doing? And then the guy explained it to my dad. And so, like, my dad has told me, he's like, yeah, I meditated, I left my body. So they're very open to trying new things, but I wouldn't say, like, they can guide me through these things, So he was very impressed. He was like, whoa, I can't believe it. And then he kissed my hands and I was like, wow.
Well, that's cool though that your dad, and that I think has a huge impact on people, and they don't realize
Yeah.
it. That when you're a kid, if your dad would have been like, okay, shut up, like with all this stuff, I don't get it, whatever, he could have kind of held this whole part of you kind of silent. Or keep it silent, because maybe you assume that you would probably no matter what find it, but the pressure of a parent maybe, or always putting you down on it. So your dad being open to it because he kind of experienced his own like positive element. Like I never had anyone in my family meditate. Like the only thing we did is scream. It's like, except my dad. My dad's like the quietest person in the world, but it was always this like stress in the house or whatever it is. And, I wonder, had there been some sort of meditation involved in like an earlier generation, how like that would have probably maybe diminished the amount of like stress in the house. And so like for me, I love the concept of meditating. Like even I'll meditate, and someone had told me something about like meditation of how they kind of prep themselves for it. And, it's kind of like you have to get rid of all the thoughts before you can even really start meditating.
I wouldn't even say it's about that. People have a false idea of what meditation is. I think it's about connecting to yourself. So not throwing away those thoughts, but observing why you're thinking those things. And then when you become the observer, that's how you get rid of them. You know what I mean?
So it's funny how he had placed it. Like I kind of rushed through it. He's like, how he envisioned it was he pictures himself in a canoe, like literally a canoe, like floating on water. And he's like, before I can start going down this river, I need to like know that I'm going down a river that I want to go down. So he's like, whatever thought comes at me, take it, look at what this thought is, put it in a canoe and let it flow down. Like you've seen the thought, now send it away. Because you don't want to focus just on this. Yeah. And so he's like, and you keep doing this kind of this process till you feel like there isn't really another thought coming, and now you're ready to accept whatever like needs to come down on this river now that you're gonna go down. Yeah. And I found it was something that was so easy to like visualize. And so every time I would meditate, I tell myself like, okay, I can't really meditate till I accept the thoughts that came in. And now that I accept them and I've processed it, I can move on and now I could walk past it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Are you going to use that now?
Yeah,
I
maybe.
think I'm totally
Stay
tuned. Dan, caller.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, awesome. So you were saying like this whole experience with your dad.
Yeah, but also like they were open because they love me. But at the same time, like there was still obstacles. Like when I wanted to do massage therapy, like my dad didn't really understand what it was because there's no like massage culture in Italy. At least like for him it didn't exist, so he didn't understand. He thought it was something like sexual, and I was like, no, whoa, why would I openly come and ask you this?
Hey dad.
Yeah.
I'm starting a rub and tug.
No. So like I don't think he understood what it was at first, and then like I explained to him like what it was, and then he was more open. And you know, they didn't really understand how you could make money either from doing these kinds of things, like my tarot card readings, my Reiki, massage, everything. And that was actually my biggest motivation, was to show them that like I could do this and like take care of myself while doing this, something I really love, even if it's outside of the norm.
So what was a moment where you needed to leverage that motivation?
Like when I needed to like
really kind of kick in because, you know, like maybe this is just, why am I doing this? Like, you know, where you doubt yourself, and have you had those experiences where you start doubting yourself? Like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I doing this?
For this, no.
Wow.
Because like I said, like every time I did it, it felt right. Like in school, I never did good in school. Like my mind was elsewhere. But when I did the massage therapy course, like, yes, it is a lot hands-on, but you're also learning a lot of anatomy and about the body. So like science, I used to get like 50% in science. And in this class, I was getting like 100s, 95, and I was freaking out. But it was because it actually interested me, and I was ready.
You were like committed to it.
I was committed. I was ready to receive the information. Like when I was younger, I was so hyperactive. Like I could not stay still. If you look at my notebooks, there's drawings everywhere. But honestly, like I think being ready to get information makes you more open to learning and makes you do well in school, you know?
Well, it's also that idea like you're not receptive, you know?
Yeah.
What I noticed in life also is when you want something and you actually start saying like, I've said this, I think on another episode, it was with the podcast. I had always had this idea of starting the podcast. I was like, how do you start it? What do you do? I need a studio. I need all this stuff or whatever. And finally, when I decided like, you know what? Okay, you're really starting this. I found the studio literally a block and a half away from here. It was sitting there this whole time and I never knew it because it just wasn't, I was so closed in on the idea of, oh, it can't happen. You know, who's going to listen? Or, you know, like you have all those doubts or whatever. And the moment I was like, you know, it's not about listening. It's about like, I just want to do this. I don't know why. Like I'm interested in people's stories. I want to hear stories. I want to know all this stuff. And it was like right here, right at the corner. And that really kind of like triggered something even in my mind of like, how many other things are right here waiting for me? And I'm just not open to receiving it yet. And I feel like once you start opening those doors, you'd notice like all these opportunities, all these things are just like waiting for you.
Yeah, I actually believe that because like just think of the psychic that was at that party. Like the minute I started being like, okay, no, I need to see someone, boom, that woman came to me. And then boom, like that massage therapist at the gym, like they just come to you. Like you open yourself up and these people, they just start, people, opportunity, places, like they just start coming to you naturally.
Yeah.
You know, and I always found myself in situations like this, like literally divinely guided at the right place at the right time, like getting knowledge from people that you would not normally get. Like there's this one man I met. His name is Shinduk, and I met him because me and my friends, we were like so hungry one night, and every restaurant was turning us down because we were like, it was too late. But then finally I was like, no, I'm going to this restaurant, like we're going in. So I just walk in, and then this guy is like, no, 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 no. And I'm like, no, we're so hungry, please, like even if it's just like leftovers, like we're gonna buy it from you. He's like, give me a second. Then he lets us in. It's like one of those restaurants where you have to take off your shoes and there's like tapestry everywhere. I think it's like Northern African, like desert themed.
Okay, like Morocco.
Yeah. Kind of vibe, like tagines.
You would love Morocco. We were in Morocco.
I feel like I would love Morocco.
Morocco is beautiful.
Yeah, I can
really
imagine.
Nice.
I can imagine.
But anyway, sorry. For interrupting, you just brought like a trigger of like amazing times in Morocco.
But yeah, so he like gives us a full course meal, like literally like couscous, like tea, dessert, salad, like literally everything. And now we're like, okay, could we wash your dishes? Like, could we pay? He's like, no, you're not paying, because in the desert, like if people are hungry, we give them food no matter what. And I'm like, what? But anyways, throughout this dinner, I'm talking to the guy and I'm realizing that he's an older man, okay? I would say maybe like late 50s. And he's telling me about how he's like a professor, and he does like, how do you say? Like talks in universities where he talks about
like a keynote speaker. And
where he gives like speeches about herbs or like medicine that is found in the desert. And he's from Mali.
Okay.
And he's from the desert, a nomadic tribe in Mali, like so amazing. And anyways, just like so random, but then he taught me about all this spiritual practice that they do in Mali.
And how did you meet him again?
Randomly at a restaurant when I was so hungry.
That was the guy that you met at the restaurant. It wasn't the owner of or the guy.
No, he was
just a random guy.
Yeah, he was just like a waiter at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, and like throughout the years, like he invited me to his wedding. Like he invites me over sometimes, and like he literally exchanges practices with me. Like he showed me how to do readings with seashells that like.
How is that? Like you seem like you just like transported back into moments with this person.
Yeah.
No, but it's cool like that you met someone that you would kind of call it like a bit of a mentor. In a sense.
He was a mentor for a really long time. Honestly, was.
And did he really help shape kind of like the direction and where you were going, and kind of like maybe give you more visibility to that road that you were on already?
Yeah, 100%. Definitely like reassurance, and every culture has magic. You know, and this is actually why, like, so when I first started learning about spirituality, like I didn't learn about the Italian spirituality. It was like coming from like Reiki comes from Japan. And then I studied Indian medicine, Ayurveda, which obviously comes from India. But I'm like, what about my people? Like, what do we have? Like, we for sure have like ancient knowledge, ancient practices. Like magic is literally the oldest thing to have existed.
Yeah.
So then I started doing my own personal research, and I got like 2 books that really like taught me a lot about Italian culture and magic. And it was like, one was Italian witchcraft, and then the other one was like folklore practices, like Italian. And I was like, whoa. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Get into that.
So much
it must be
deep
so epic.
practices. Okay. Well, first of all, I remember when I was doing Reiki with my nonna, and I just to make her like understand, I would say like, oh, I'm doing le preghiere, like I'm doing prayers. You have
to call it in a term that they understand, or else they're gonna be like, I have to tell like if I want my grandma to try something new, I have to give her some sort of connection back to the old country.
You know?
Or because if I don't do that, she is not trying it. She's never tried mustard.
Whoa.
Like literally, she's 96 years old. She refuses any condiment. She's never had it. Like, if it's not from if it's not like originally sourced somewhere from Italy or making it by her hand, like she will not touch it. No interest. I think she finally had like an egg roll like 2 years ago. Yeah, she's 96. It's crazy.
That is crazy.
Anyways, sorry.
So when I like did my first session on her, she was like, oh, like her mom, so my great grandmother, used to do prayers for the village people. Like people would go see my great grandmother, and she would do prayers to help remove spirits, bad energy. And I'm like, okay, this is literally energy work, but just called something completely different, you know? And anytime I had a stomach ache, she would do like X's on my stomach. She'd be like, it's gone. It's gone. Like I cut the bad energy. And when I was reading these books, that was literally one of the parts, like one of the magic things where it's like, if you want to remove an energy, like draw an X. If you want to bless a space, you do a cross. Like the amount of times I was sick and she's doing the cross on me and I'm like, what does this even mean, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing is a lot of our like magic got lost in like Christianity, but it's through Christianity, like we still practice our ancient ways. So like, for example, the fact that we have all these saints, okay, like Santa Rita, Santa Lucia, like all these big saints that we celebrate, this is actually not part of like normal Christianity. It's kind of a sin to worship something else that is not God.
Okay.
So fun fact, when Italians
Fun fact.
when Italians first migrated to North America, especially in the States, they were forced to practice in basements because the Irish Catholics didn't like the way we would practice Christianity. They thought it was very like witch-like. Like even to this day, if you go to the villages in Italy, like you see us give offerings to these saints so that we can get a blessing back, which is so similar to ancient Rome, ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, ancient anything where we're giving an offering to a god to receive something. So throughout these like studies that I did on my own, I realized that the goddess of the moon might have been translated to the high priestess, which is like an archetype, a character in my tarot deck, but also in spirituality. And this summer when I went to Italy, I actually decoded so many things when I would go into churches, because also on the side, I like to study like symbolism and what things represent. And I started seeing that in my tarot deck, there's so many similarities like in the church. So if you look at the high priestess in a tarot deck, she's this woman who's dressed in blue. She has the moon at her feet, like the blue veil, symbol for divine feminine energy. But if you look at the Virgin Mary in the churches...
I was like, it literally sounded like you described
exactly,
that picture.
Yeah, and the Virgin Mary is the female representation of like divinity and yeah.
It's a lot of those stories, like, it's funny. Same here. I grew up in a very like heavy like Catholic home.
Yeah.
And then I kind of, I kind of not, I wouldn't say that I walked away from it, but I was just like, I'm done. Like, I'm good. And I walked away from it. But I always understood the concept of like energies in my mind. I'm like, there's a feeling like, and I always had a hard time describing it. Like, there is something in a sense of the feeling inside that you have that is like a communication portal that you have no way of understanding unless you're somewhat like trying to listen to it or being open to what it's telling you. And I found like a lot of times the more we're growing up, that we're kind of telling more people, just think with your head, think with your head. And there is an element of that where you need your brain, but you cannot disregard this like element of your soul and your like, and not in a religious way, just that communication of like that gut feeling, like whatever you want to call it. It's some sort of like communication tool.
Yeah, 100%.
And I've always found like, and as I get older, I'm recognizing that is the voice that you've been kind of like shutting down for so long that once you start opening it up, you can't shut it down now. It's just something in you that is there, and because you can't unsee it anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like now that you had kind of started going through all this stuff,
Yeah.
and you had kind of been shown these, like, or these people are showing you all these things, you can't go back to a world that doesn't involve this.
But you know what's weird? I'm actually way more religious now than I was when I was younger. Like, I understand religion in like a whole other perspective.
Like what?
Well, the spiritual side of it, like religion for me is like a structured spirituality. Like, follow these guidelines and you will reach like your divinity. And also like I studied religion in CEGEP a bit, and like through these studies you learn that there's so many similarities. Like take the rosary, for example. Like, the rosary is prayer beads, but you also see this in like Hinduism and Buddhism. In Islam, they have a form of prayer beads. And I'm not sure if like Judaism has this kind of thing, but I wouldn't be surprised, you know? And it's really just like a form of meditation where you're sitting down, you're praying, you're intentionally being like blessings, whatever it is you want to pray about. And you're like doing the whole La Corona there, you know? And the same with praying too. Prayer and meditation is the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're connecting with God, which can be translated to your higher self, the cosmos, the universe. And you're like setting your intentions of what you want to manifest, what you want to bring into your life. Like, I think we have a issue where we take things so literally, especially when we're reading the Bible. Like, this is a scripture that was written like so many years ago. Like, don't take everything so literally. Yeah. A lot of things are metaphors. Like, I was with my friend and we were talking about, because he's like, oh, I don't believe that like he's the son of God. Like, how can he be the son of God? And I'm like, okay, hold up. Let's break it down together. You know, like even me, I was like, I want to like bring it to a level where I can understand it. And I was like, well, at the time, he was preaching the word of God, the word of the universe. And perhaps he was so devoted to his practice and to preaching the word of God that people were like, oh, he's the son of God because you're so devoted to spreading this message, you know? So like...
Well, I just think of like an example, you know, that stupid game when we were kids, telephone.
Oh, yeah.
No, but it's
yes.
like you start, like the person that started that story, if you go in literally a span of 5 minutes, that story literally changes multiple times in the same room with the 10 people that are just listen to it. So imagine like stories of 2000, like stories from a week ago aren't the same story. This is like 2000, 3000, whatever the stories are. Chances are they're not literal. Like, and even for me, like I said, I'm not a religious person, but I understand the idea of, like you were saying, like meditation and prayer. Now that I do, like I did prayer when I was a kid, obviously, because we had to do it, but I was forced to do those things. I didn't want to do them. And I still don't really connect on a prayer level, but I love meditating. Yeah. There's an element of meditation that it just kind of brings you back into a spot where you can just, like, and then manifestations and all these things. And there's an element, I think, of religion that I'm starting to appreciate more. Even though I'm not religious, it's the idea of having faith in believing in something. Yes. And believing not in a structural religion, but I mean believing that the right things are going to happen if you just kind of let go. Like let go of it and have some faith that things will work out. And it's funny, like I remember, you know, you would hear these stories, you know, when you were a kid, is, you know, the sand with the feet and, you know, the side by side and oh, where were you? But I was carrying you throughout that pain. You know, like it was like all those things. I never resonated. And I was always like, oh, it's fucking garbage, this stuff, you know? But now as I'm getting older, I'm just a bit more like, there is an element, well, no, I feel like there's an element that you need to kind of just let go and let things do what they need to do because there is a road that you can't see yet. Yeah. And you're not able to, it would be detrimental to know what's really coming your way because you would not move, you'd be paralyzed all the time. So you have to kind of let go and have some faith that, if that's the right word, faith. To just believe in yourself and to manifest these things and to do the things you want to do. Listen to that internal, like that spiritual side or that internal gut voice, because it is the truth for you, you know, and that's really all that matters ultimately. Yeah. Okay. So how old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay. So usually this is not the conversations that 26-year-olds are having. So how is it for you to be in this feeling? Like, do you feel like you're almost body type, you know, like in your mind, like, are you disconnected with like the people from your age group right now and how you feel about these things?
Sometimes, yeah. Like, I feel like sometimes I talk to people, and especially when I talk about my religious side, they're just like, oh, like Jesus had orgies and like this and that. And I'm just like, okay, but like,
so what?
Yeah. And also like, I don't know, I find it a bit like disrespectful. I'm not gonna lie. Like, you don't hear me like shitting on other people's religion. So like, I wish people were more open-minded to like understanding and like being open to the possibilities. But I have a feeling it's because of like my spirituality that makes me understand religion a bit more. You know, it's like a bit witchcraft, but like it's okay. We'll call it religion, you know. But yeah.
But now, like, so I see one thing that you do that is really cool. I saw this on your page, is that I think you go visit, or like you tend to connect a lot with like older generations.
I love old people. I freaking love old people.
Okay, how did that start? Like, what was it? Is it because of the rituals? Not the rituals, but I mean like the books you're reading. Like, what kind of made you say, wow, this is kind of something I really enjoy?
Like old people, you mean?
Just hanging out with old people.
Because, well, first, like, I was really close with my nonna who passed away. God bless her soul. It was my dad's mom. I'm actually close with both my nonnas, but I had a very, very special relationship with my dad's mom. And we would laugh together, and like she would like play jokes with me. And the fact that when she got old, she moved into our house, so like I was seeing her almost every day. And they have like this wisdom, like they give you, oh sorry, my tummy. Wait. Sorry, okay. But yeah, I find old people have a wisdom, and the way they give you advice, you're like, whoa. Like I used to love hearing what my nana had to say about life and her experiences. And even my nana who's still alive, like I love hearing like her survivor stories of the war and like what they had to do to like get to where we are. And then that's it, you know. And the woman Lena is my nana's best friend.
I was laughing because you're like, it's a niputine.
Yeah.
You have to always give like, you're like,
Yeah.
it's a 4 intro thing before the,
Yeah.
oh, okay, now I know who you are.
Ah, okay.
Okay, now I know. It's like they do the whole, the check, the person check.
Checklist.
Okay, we have a kumbare, we have a niputine, we have a cugini, and we have a zio somewhere in there. You know, it's like, it's so mental.
Yeah. So once she knew who I was, she actually lives like 2 blocks from me. So my nana was always like, you should go visit her. You should go visit her. So I finally started going to visit her. And she has even more fun stories to tell.
I can imagine.
Yeah, because her husband passed away when she was still pretty young. So she like was open to dating. So just asking them about romance and like love. And they don't judge you because like old people are maybe more lonelier. So they're just like appreciating your presence being there. So they're not focused on like hating what you're saying. And also it helps that I'm not her kid, so she can't really like
judge, you know? Yeah, it's like a stranger in this sense.
A stranger, and like now a friend, you know. So she's just like enjoying. And I remember like telling her about like, oh, the guys I have crushes on, and she's like, oh, the guys, all they want is sex. Be careful. And I'm like, oh, you know.
This is so wise.
Yeah, wise. No, but other than like joking around, she does also pass down like ancient knowledge and just traditions. Like I feel so connected to my roots. Like I don't know if it has to do with the fact that my dad, well, yeah, both my parents are Italian, and I would go to Italy almost every summer growing up. So I just feel so connected. And when I'm here, and I grew up in the West Island, so very far away from the Italian community. So I was literally always considered weird. Like, oh, why are your parents coming to talk to us? Like, what do you mean? You're in the house. Like, they're the type of people to, like, not say hi to your parents. And, like, I would always have to tell my English friends, like, you walk into the house, you say hi to my parents. Because them, you could walk into their house and go downstairs or whatever, go play right away. They don't care, you know?
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like, oh, you guys, you're going to chill with your family? Like, yeah, bitch. Like, what do you mean?
I still love going to my cousin's house. I was like, why would I not want to hang out with my cousins? They were like my best friends.
Exactly. Like, and I remember like that being such a huge issue. So like, I would hold on to these traditions so much. Like the fact that we make wine, my mom making the sauce, the fact that we do like sotolio, like, you know, these things, these other cultures just don't do. And like, I don't know, the more that I can connect to these traditions, the more better. The better.
That's the Italian in us.
Yeah.
The random words that don't make sense. The more better I feel.
The more better I feel about myself, okay?
I don't need to fucking learn English. Fuck this shit.
Honestly, but yeah.
It's funny, you know, you say, I had, and I told this to someone in one of another, I kind of like disconnected from the whole like Italian culture at one point. I wanted almost nothing to do with it. I felt like so, no, I'm not there. And now it's like it's a complete opposite vibe.
Yeah.
I appreciate a lot of those things where making the sauce was fucking fun. Like, you know, and it's actually a fun thing to do. You know, the sausages and the wines. We stopped. The wine was a long time ago. We stopped that one, but it was just like. And I remember I went once because I realized like when they go, this is going with them.
Yeah.
It's
oh my
gone.
God, I got the shivers when you said that. I was like, fuck.
It's true. Like, and not only do they go, like, you don't know how to do this. So it's gone. It's like, and that's why these things, like, they lasted for so long. It's because they would hang out with their, like, parents and grandparents and do this with them. And they would just pass it down and pass it down. It was just everything you did in August, you did the fucking sauce. You know, like, it was just everyone knew that. And then I thought about it. I'm like, if someone doesn't learn this, we're gonna have to buy sauce for the rest of our life.
Like no.
Like there's a whole canteen like of sauce all the time. There was just never ending tomato sauce in the house, right? And I'm like, and never ending sopressata, like everywhere.
I fucking love sopressata.
You know? So you have all this stuff like just always there, and you kind of like realize that it's only there because someone did it. And so one year I remember I went and I said, I just want to come and hang out. And it was like just my grandparents and everyone there. I think the median age was like 74. You know, everyone was like 69 to 95 in that room.
Love it.
And they had a blast. Like they were having a blast. They were having drinks. They were laughing. They were talking. Like, and I was just hanging out with them. And I brought a video camera, and I filmed them. Like I filmed them making like the sausage and all that stuff. And I'm like, thank God I filmed that because now my grandfather's not around. And he was kind of like the captain of the ship, you know, in a sense. Like, you don't fuck with this tool. This is my tool. And it's like, you don't even know, like, can we even do the sauce anymore if he's not there? It's like a weird vibe, you know? And you look at it and you're like, and I was like, thank God I filmed this. Like, even if we never do this ever again, it was like something that I have, like this moment of everyone having fun. They're so proud. You know, they're holding it up.
Of course.
And they're like, you know, and then they're all laughing at me because I'm terrible at it. I was trying and they're like, okay, get out of here, you suck. Move aside. We'll show you how to do it. But it was such those things like that. And even like Vito from Mano Cornuto was talking about this in an episode, you know, Dan from Bossa, Pier Paolo from Panzeria. We had a whole conversation about this at one point of, there is something so nice about these traditions that we kind of like we're told not to do them anymore, or like they're not fun, they're not cool. And then you actually realize they're really fun. You have a really good time and you feel like you're part of like the tribe. Yeah. Like it's your own tribe, this thing. I know.
It's honestly like, I feel like I felt it a lot just growing up in the West Island. Like they want to separate you from your culture. It's like they don't understand it, but then they want to be like you. It's so weird. But anyways, I started making my own cavatellis and it's like I'm obsessed with it now. Like I have not bought like actual pasta in over 3 months because I've just been making it. Yeah. And then through that, I met Jacind, which is Lina. His name's Jacind.
What a name.
I think. Honestly, maybe I'm not pronouncing it right, but whatever. It's like I think it's Hyacinthe, you know, like the name Hyacinthe in French, Jacind, or like Joachim. Anyways,
it became so Italian, Jacind.
Anyways, it's this Italian man who makes ricotta. Okay, so now I'm trying to get my nonna to call him for me so that I have a ricotta plug. But then I have this other friend of mine. He's a paisan. His family makes sopressata. So now I'm going to have my sopressata plug set. And I just have to take care of the cavatellis, and maybe we can set up a little barter,
like a barter
system, you know? But that's how it was back then. Like, everyone had each other's backs, you know?
You know, who was I talking to? Simon. I had someone here, and he moved down to Ecuador. Wow. And he decided that he wanted to start a farm. He just never... Him and his wife, Sue, they lived here. They grew up here. Well, she was from Madagascar. Okay, wow. But when they came here... And he's this like Quebec boy, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe from the regions or whatever in Montreal, but like he's a Quebec boy. And maybe Quebec City, something like that. Anyways, and he just felt like something was missing. He just felt something was missing, and he didn't, like, he was like, we'd be working as waiters or doing, he goes, we're making good money. Like we had our apartment, we had all the stuff we needed, but they just always felt like something was missing. And he always wanted to like just be on a farm. And all that stuff, right? So they moved down to Ecuador. They decided, well, they didn't just pick up and go. Like they did research. They did all that. They bought a piece of land, and they built a farm, and this yoga farm. And I think you would love this place.
Yeah, that sounds like a vibe.
Yeah. Honestly, Finca Piguino. Yeah, it's amazing. Like the stuff looks awesome. And he was saying that at one point, he was saying there was a huge earthquake that happened. Like it destroyed everything. All the stuff they had built, all the stuff they were doing, the communities that they were in, because they knew that if they were going to go there, like they have to be part of this community. It's not like they have to work with these people, they have to get to them. So they really went there and they researched, like they met the people in the community, they really vibed with them and all that stuff. And when that disaster happened, he's like, I noticed there like how important community is and like the tribe and all that stuff. Because he's like, everyone helped each other to rebuild their house. And I'm like, wow, that's fucked up. Like you rebuilt people's houses, like everyone just helped each other to rebuild the house, and everyone had to rebuild. So it was like everyone in the community was helping each other, And there's something about that that's like special. Like that doesn't happen in a city. That doesn't happen. Like that feeling was, that's just how it always was. It was like your community was your tribe, and the tribe helps each other. And everyone plays a part in this tribe of like, if it's a hunter or whatever it is, like from going back to like thousands of years, it's like that element is that we've always been that. And now we really disconnected from that. It's like everyone's isolated, even like houses and stuff like.
But that's the issue with today. It's like the families aren't close anymore. Like how many times I would go into like this English person's house and it's like, shut the fuck up, mom, and I'm like, what?
I can't lie. We were bad. Like in my house, we were bad.
No,
I don't know how my mom didn't beat the shit out of us.
Oh my god, no. But anyways, like I just feel like they separate you from the nucleus, and like you're talking about tribe, but your first tribe is your family. And if you can't even have a good connection, like how can you have a good connection with your outer tribe or like the outside parts of society? Like even though I'm so different than my one of my brothers, like fucking complete opposite the way we think. We used to get into crazy fights, but the fact that I could sit at a table with someone who is completely different from me and still listen to what they have to say without getting offended or wanting to cancel this person. Like, shit, that makes me like a strong tribe person, Like you could sit with anyone. And I think this is what people lack. And yeah, it makes us be more generous in general. Like the fact that you can help your brother out makes you also help a friend out or like a stranger out. Some people, like, they don't even say hi to strangers. They don't even say hi to their own neighbors. Yeah. I was talking to my neighbor about this because
we're sitting on the gallery talking.
No, because, like, it's so funny because me and literally my next door neighbor, she's, I think she's a year older than me. And we're like this now. Like, we're such good friends. We go for walks. After this, we're going to go do groceries together. And it's like, shit, like, some people don't even say hi to the people who live next to them. They walk past these people.
I know. Like it's awkward. I remember growing up, like on my end, everyone knew everyone. Like literally, and maybe it was also because we were all kids and there was all these kids like running around in the street. There was a different vibe, but like everyone knew everyone in the area. We would play hockey together like every day after school. Like we would always hang out, play hide and go seek in the streets, like all this crazy shit. And like that, you just don't have like it doesn't seem like it's that feeling of like just this is the neighborhood. Like you hung out in the neighborhood, right? And I feel, something you said that it struck like a chord, I guess, was the tribe stuff. Where I noticed that I think all this stuff started mattering more the moment, like, I knew my girlfriend got pregnant. Like, once she was like, we're going to have this kid, it was like, oh my God, this is my tribe now. Like, this is, like, it was a very different point of view on life of, okay, this is, because it's funny, like, your family that you have, like now your brothers and all that stuff. This is a family that no matter what is a family that you didn't choose. And you have to be part of it. It's just like no matter what, you're there. So that's why it's like you make the effort to also, I feel like no matter what, how different you are, it's like it's my brother. Yeah. Doesn't matter. It's my brother. Like there's a connection there that you cannot disconnect. Like you cannot hide. I mean, but when it's your own, like now, like this is my kid. Like it's like you created this thing. It does change like the point of view of like, I need to take care of my tribe. Yeah. Like, I don't know if it's like a guy thing as a dad or whatever. I understand. And like even my girlfriend has her way of like, the way she sees like the family. But that idea of like building a strong tribe is really important because that's the first people you also depend on. Because shit is going to happen. And if you don't have that base, I feel of like that initial tribe or that initial community, which is your family, you're always kind of searching for it after because it's such a like a foundational piece. I find. I noticed like I was lucky enough to have a good family. Not everyone does. And so it's like I want to try to make sure that it's like still another good family. Like it does play a part. And everyone that does come from a family that didn't have that tightness or whatever it is, they're always looking to be part of a tribe. Yeah. It's like you need that. You need at least one in your life, Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, so I know we went into all this like tribes and all this stuff. But now if we go back to cosmic healing.
Yeah, what's up?
So what I see you doing a bunch of stuff of like sessions. Yeah. Like you give people sessions. Like it looks like you really want to spread the word and teach this stuff. Why is that so important for you?
Because it brings people together. And I feel like what do you mean through my sessions? Like
Because I see you doing
Or
like
my classes.
your
Like, what do you
classes. Yeah,
mean?
like you're giving like classes and teaching
Yeah.
people how to do Reiki. Let's say as an
Yeah,
example.
yeah.
You know?
So you want to know why I think it's important?
Yeah, because you could not do that and still be okay, right? And
Yeah.
but that's something when you want to teach. I feel like when someone
Mm-hmm.
wants to teach something, is they really believe that this can be beneficial
Yeah.
in a larger format. You know what I mean?
Well, first of all, I know there's other people who are like me who like are trying to find a place with their powers, their the fact that they could feel so much. It's like they want to understand what they could do with it, and I'm just happy to be there to show people that like your sensitivity is a gift. You being emotional is a gift. Like it's not something to be ashamed of, and like there's a place for weirdos like you, don't worry about it. We're helping people and we're changing the world. So just being that person that people can come to and like I can help guide them. Like it feels so good to do.
How did you start that? Like, what made you say I wanted to do the teaching?
The teaching. So when I first did Reiki, I think I was like 18 or something like that. Like I was very young. So it took me like a while to want to actually be a master. Like you have the choice to do your classes. Like you can be a master in like a month if you really wanted to.
How does it work? Like how does, like you said, a master, like it seems like it's like designations. Like how does that work?
Yeah, so basically like you have to learn Reiki from a master.
Okay.
There's level 1, 2, 3, and 4. And when you're at level 4, that's when you could start teaching.
Okay.
And so basically like I wanted to wait until I had like experience before being a master. Also like I was like 20 years old. Like I'm not going to be a master at 20. Like I wanted to really like honor and value this. Like the title of a master is like something that you have to earn. And I feel like because I've been doing it for like 6 years, I was like, okay, now is the time to spread what I know, because I know a lot of things, and I know I've been helping people through what I'm doing. So yeah, it's time to spread the word. Like there comes a point where you just accumulate so much knowledge that you're like, okay, what do I do with it? I want to share it with people because I'm applying it to my clients and I could see results. So if I can show someone else how to do what I'm doing and then they can make it even better, wow, like freaking let's do it,
And so now, like with the teaching, how long have you been doing the teaching now?
The teaching, it's not even a year. I actually teaching Reiki, like I just started, when was it? October. I taught my first class, October 2023. And it was like...
How was it? How did you feel? Like, how was that whole process of putting this thing together?
Oh my God, it was so freaking fun. Like I made a PowerPoint presentation. Like I had a whole like, not a script, but just like, like a class outline and everything to follow. And it's fun because you're finally putting all your thoughts in order, and like you're just spreading something that you really love and you're passionate about. And it's very like, I like my teaching style. Like I never saw myself as a teacher.
I was about to say that. Like, did you ever see yourself teaching, knowing that you said earlier you fucking hated being in school?
Yeah, no, never, literally. But the way that I teach, it's like, I'm a strong believer in like the man who knows something knows he knows nothing at all. So like, you can't claim that you know everything. I'm so open to making mistakes. Like even when I'm with my students, they'll be like, what is that? And I'll be like, actually, you know what? Let's look it up together. Like I never put myself above anyone. And I think my students appreciate that.
Yeah.
And when they tell me things, I listen to them and I learn from them. Like I learn more from listening to them than like if I just stayed in my own world.
Well, yeah, because it's a real thing that's happening. Someone is feeling this way.
Yeah.
So how could you not... in a practice that is all about being in touch with your feelings and being sensitive and opening up to all that, to not listen to the student telling you how they're feeling about this or what their experience is like would almost be counterintuitive of what you're trying to teach someone.
Exactly. And they challenge me through those questions that they ask and I don't know the answers to,
Yeah.
So I like it.
And so now, okay, so do you have like a certain like vision that you're seeing about this teaching? Like, do you have like the goal, the end goal? Not, I hate saying end goals, but I mean, like, what's your vision for the like, how do you see yourself? Let's say you're 26 now.
Yeah.
How do you see yourself at 30 years old, even just a few years away, about all this stuff?
Shit, 30?
Oh, shut up. I'm 40.
You're not 40.
I'm 40.
You are so not 40. Okay. Maybe it's like a Scorpio like blessing that we just look young and amazing. But okay, I did not get 40. But anyways, in third, like when I'm 30, I'm not sure. But with the teaching, like I want to have an academia like one day where it's like a school for people that are just like gifted, like spiritually gifted. And you know, these schools exist in India and like other parts of the world where like literally when you're a kid, like 5 years old, you go to this school and you're practicing telepathy. And this is normalized.
I was about to say that. I feel like that's a North American thing of just looking at this stuff. And if it's not science, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
There's something about that. It's like, because every other culture, like you said, the moment you cross the pond, even just going down south, there's all these connections back to like your culture, ancient culture, or just these teachings, these things about actually, I'd say more connecting to yourself and learning about yourself.
Something just came to my mind. Like, I was just thinking about, like, there was this one time I was in Italy and we were playing like a game, like with my Italian friends. And my friend was like counting with his fingers. And I was like, oh my God, you're counting with your fingers? And he's like, yeah, so what? And then the other friends were like, yeah, like, why wouldn't you count with your fingers if they're right there? And I'm like, in North America, like they laugh at you for counting with your fingers. Like if you're doing math and you're like, okay, wait, what's this plus this? 1, 2. Oh, you have to count with your fingers. I don't know why this randomly came up, but it's like just like the simplest things are like completely normal, but we have this mentality that like we have to know the answers to everything. Like we're like a machine, a robot, like everything has to be fast. And if you don't have the answer, you're stupid and like you're wrong.
It's there's no gray.
Yeah.
It's a very black and white scenario.
We all have our way of getting to the answer. So you can't judge someone because they're counting with their hands. You can't judge someone who's using the calculator. You can't judge someone who's using their mind. Like what matters is the end result.
Well, it's funny you say that because, you know, you think of all these things and it's really just this idea of listening to yourself ultimately. Like I was saying earlier, I feel like a lot of decisions that I'd made at one point in my life was a lot like, you know, evaluating it from a, I guess, intellectual perspective. You know, you're like, what's the risk factor of this? And like all these elements, which it's normal. Your brain thinks like this because for thousands of years it needed to protect you. Like,
yeah, of course.
It was your security. Without that, you were probably gonna get fucking eaten by something. You know? No, but it's like it's just in us as people. Like it's based on more of a fear idea, like how to protect you. And so when you start with that, you're starting off with something that is saying that something is out to get you, I find. So there's the negative connotation to the world that you're living in automatically when you think with your brain. And it kind of like, I guess, poisons after when you start saying, okay, well, do I really love it? Well, you thought of all these other things and then you kind of got there and you thought of all the risks and the dangers to it. So do you really love it? Are you sure? And then by the time it gets to like your gut, it's like, it's not happening, this idea of you probably psyched yourself out of it. So I kind of like, I recognized that for a lot of decisions, I was making that kind of like this 1, 2, 3 idea. And then I realized I'm like, well, the brain is really fucking strong because it can convince you of anything. Yeah, anything you want. You say it often enough, it's the truth. It doesn't matter. So why am I starting with this thing that can be so manipulative to me? And it can totally like point me in the wrong direction completely and not listening to myself because it's convinced me something else. So I started kind of shifting that on like the way, like when someone brings an idea, like you want to try this or whatever the story is, or should you do this, or an opportunity comes up, I tend to say like, what was the initial reaction? Did I feel like excited about this? Like, did it like trigger something in me that I can't even explain? I can't describe it. And then, you know, something is somewhat like you need to dig in a little more. Like that's how I kind of like start decision processes now. It's like, did I feel something? If I didn't feel anything, chances are it's just not for me. It's not a bad thing. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
And then I kind of go through that process of like, okay, I felt something. Like, what am I feeling though? Like, I'm excited because I'm learning something. And then I kind of like understood and I started like, I researched on myself of like, what are my strengths? What are my real things that I'm really good at? Because that's what makes me lose track of time. And that means I'm happy automatically. Like when you start forgetting, oh man, that only took an hour. Like it's already 3 hours.
Yeah.
That's a good sign. Like automatically something is right. And so then I'll be like, okay, well, does it trigger any of those strengths? I'm like, okay, it does. Okay, fantastic. How do I get this done now? And it doesn't become it's not good for me. It becomes how do I get it done? What do I need to do? Who do I need to call? Like it becomes an opportunity mechanism versus a defense mechanism. So it's like I find
like
just
that.
shifting that, it's a really like it's been a game changer for the last few years. Well, look, Claudia, it's been awesome having you here. Like I had such a blast going down like memory lane, thinking of like my family and just even like my place too at times of where I am. And I find like the way you're saying your sessions with your students, it helps you, like it teaches you. I find a lot of these conversations also makes me realize so much more about myself. Like learning about you made me kind of think of a lot about the stuff that I'm thinking about, and it's always a special feeling I find having these conversations. So I just want to say thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And honestly, I had a great time. So
Me too.
hopefully we'll stay in touch and we'll try some of this stuff. I know we're gonna try to find some time to do some of this stuff too.
Yeah. Whenever you want to try something out, let me know. We'll book a session together and
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. That's it.
That's it. That's all. Cool.
Hey, thanks for checking out the show. It's been awesome working on this project. And if you like it, tell a friend. And if you want to support the show, you can by 1, subscribing and liking our YouTube channel at the DMW Podcast. 2, you can go to our website and sign up to our mailing list at the dmwpodcast.com. And 3, you can follow us on Instagram at the DMW Podcast. Thanks again for all of your support. My name is Stef, and this is the Dead Man Walking Podcast.